Hello, TCI family, Jonathan's Refuge, and all of our faithful followers around the world. As you can see, I'm coming to you from the car. We haven't done a car message in, I think, a couple of years. For those that have been with our church and international that watch our church, they'll remember we used to do the car messages. I'd get an inspiration real quick, and I just wanted to fire off right then, so I'd post the messages. So if you go back to our YouTube channel, oh gosh, 5 years ago or something, 6 years back, you'll see it, me just popping off with messages on the side of the roads and things. But tonight, sorry about the shaking. We have someone doing makeup in the car. We have a meeting we had to get to, and so we were running short on time and being able to record this at a with the normal equipment and in the normal locations. I used to come down here right to the waterfront. Behind us, literally, if I just peek out the door for you and you look back there in the distance, those are the boats, right? And that's my one of my partner's boat is out there in that marina. And so I spent a lot of time here, and I find inspiration out at the water like I do in the mountains. And the title today for the message is called Play the Long Game. The question is, what's the long game? Now, every spiritual book, the Bible, I was raised a Christian, became a Christian Buddhist. Buddhism, by the way, is not a religion for those that want to know, it's a philosophy. But we have in our church Muslims and people who are Christians and Jews. We have people who are atheists. We have all kinds of people. And the story I'm going to share comes from the Bible and from the Jewish texts in the Torah, and also in the Quran it talks about it. But there was this guy, and he fell in love with a girl, and he cut a deal with the dad because that's how you did it back then. And you had to give a dowry, and he was poor and didn't have anything, so he had to work for the father for a certain period of years. He told the young man, "If you work for me for 7 years, I'll give you my daughter's hand in marriage." And so 7 years had come. He had worked faithfully, increased the holdings of his soon to be father in law through the roof. And literally, the sheep have been just doubling and doubling, and the herds are growing, and they're just doing an amazing job. 7 years he worked the long game. So he thought that was the long game. Then the night of the wedding, he gets tricked because the father actually says, "No, I'm not going to give you the daughter you wanted because she's super hot, she's super young, and I can get more for her." Now, he doesn't tell the young man that. He just decides this himself. So he gives him the eldest daughter, and she's not as pretty, and it's not who he was in love with. And so you would think, how do you marry someone and not know who it is? Well, back then you weren't allowed to see the face at all. So all you saw was a body covered. And they did the marriage ceremony, and then they go to bed, and then that's when he realizes and blows up and finds out that it's not the right sister. Yells and goes into the father-in-law's tent, and he's like, "Hey, it's just the way it is, man. You're supposed to marry the eldest first." And he felt cheated, and he was cheated. And he said, "But listen, I'll cut you a deal. If you want to work another 7, then you can have the other daughter's hand." So he worked another 7, 14 years. Isn't that crazy?
Worth it.
14 years. Worth it, she said. Absolutely. To him, it was. Why? That was the woman he was in love with. So he had to work the long game. Okay. Now, finances. What's the long game? You don't invest for get rich quick schemes. People always come up to me like, "Hey, did you see that thing on Facebook? They got 48% returns quarterly." And I'm like, stop. One of the greatest investors in the world is Warren Buffett. And I work with Warren's philosophy because he's a genius. The other man is the world's current biggest investor, which is Ray Dalio, who is the wizard of finances. Both men, when they die, their wills state to their wives and children, sell everything of ours, put everything into the S&P 500, set it, forget it, and let it go. It'll make its 10% every year like it has from the beginning of market till now. And it's the safest bet. Now, these are the two smartest men in the world in finances. So long term, how are you investing? financially, you need to be thinking about that. One of my young men, Cameron, I'm so proud of him. He's one of our managers at large, which means he's a house manager and he's over all houses. He can go to any house and go make a call as a manager. If my other manager is not there, he as the senior house manager of all the house managers, he carries that ability. It gives me the ability to have him go help us in a house somewhere when one of the men are either at work, like the house manager works at night. So we need another decision maker there. So it gives us this ability. He listens to me amazing when it comes to things like his finances. He drives piece of junk cars. He could afford to get a $100,000 big old truck like all the other guys do at the construction company. He drives either the Kia, which is a junker that he paid only a couple grand for, and then he drives a piece of junk Cherokee that he loves to death that I bought him and financed for him so he could get it. Loves that thing to death. He's got a junker motorcycle. And you're like, why don't he buy a nice one? He could afford all of that, but he's not an idiot. He's smart. I know a lot of guys who go out and buy all these fancy vehicles. They're not smart. See, when I got out of prison, I didn't go get a fancy vehicle. I drove the same piece of junk that I've had for a long time when I went in. It was Prius, and I was not ashamed of it, and I was grateful to have it. And then you ask, well, don't you own some fancy car? Folks, I don't know if you know this. I don't even own a car. I don't own a car. I own 2 motorcycles, and that's it. That is the extent of my vehicles. I don't need one. If I need to borrow one, I can borrow the company's car. Now, if Jonathan has to get a vehicle, you know what I'm going to get? A nice little Toyota Prius. Thing to get 54 miles a gallon, and I will be taking and laughing it all the way to the bank as I continue to have money, because that's what a smart person does. We don't go waste it on things that I want. Now, what do I want? Miss Heather's going to tell you. What's it called? And it's at the Ford dealership. And you said that it was going to happen this year. You were getting me. You were getting me a Bronco Raptor. Thank you. I appreciate it. She updated us on that. That's very good. So the Bronco Raptor is what I want. Yeah. And I want this one special edition one. It's only 250 some odd $1,000. The dealer GM called us himself because he's like, I know you guys want this. It has 1,000 horsepower. And I'm like, oh, 1,000 horsepower. We need that on the farm. It's needed. It's important. Could save lives. You never know. Mm-hmm. What is my point? The young man listened to me. Now he's got tens and tens and tens and tens and approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars in his bank investments. That young man, some woman, is going to land a rock star. This man makes 6 figures now. Why? Because he listens. He learned and played the long game. Yeah, but I'm tired of living like this. I want to go and get out of here. Guys would be at the men's home. I just want to get out of here. My boy would be like, I'm good, man. This is cheap. I'm going to put all the rest of my money into investments, and he did. And look where he's at. So you got to look for the long game, not just in finances, but also spirituality. Not just in spirituality, but in relationships. If you're here for a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're an idiot. That's how you get diseases. That's how you get people pregnant. That's how you go to jail. That's how you end up paying alimony for the rest of your life. There's 1,000 things. And it's not men, by the way. It's men and women, that both sides. But the long game, what's the long game? The long game is to have someone that's there to hold your hand, be your best friend. Let's be blunt. We're all heading off to that final frontier. And towards the end, you revert back to being like a child. So you better hope you have someone that's in the long game with you, someone who's going to help wipe your butt, someone who's going to help unclog your keister when you're constipated. And the doctor says, well, you're going to have to shove the, where? You're like, what? I know y'all don't want to talk about it, but this is the long game, okay? The long game. So often, everything we do is short-sighted. I find a lot of times people don't plan out. I am about 10 years down the road right now in what I'm doing for my organization, because I'm planning and I'm working as though I'll only be here for a couple of years, because I don't listen to the doctors. But what I am doing is preparing and for the worst case scenario and expecting the best. And that's how I've survived and made it. And so my whole team, my focus is to get them financially so solid that they have got it all dialed in, and all my executive staff and the board is in fully functioning rhythm, just Everything is clicking, and it is. It really is right now. We got a couple of key missing points in our organization, and once that's done, it's all over. So what's the long game in your life? We have the long game for us. We know what the long game is, Miss Heather and me, for our organization, for our spiritual network. We have the long game for all that, and we're playing the long game. What game are you playing? What is your three, your 1, 3, and 5? That's a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, and a 5-year plan. We beat that up to our organization. Have a 1, 3, and 5. If you don't have a way to measure what you're doing, you can't manage it. If you can't manage it, you're going to always end up being broke, and you're going to be that guy or gal who is, people go, oh, that's a loser. And I don't like saying people are losers. I really don't. So I like to say, no, that's a person who always loses. So you can make it nicer if you want. I mean, if you want to be a New Jersey, when I lived in New Jersey, they just, yeah, hey, there's Bobby. Bobby's a loser. Yeah, we don't have to be like that, okay? I'm not into being woke either, where we're all like, oh, he's just having problems. No, he keeps losing. That's a guy that loses over and over. Technically, that's a loser. So you can call it like it is. But if we need to call it nicer, just say that's a person who loses all the time. See, if that's you and you're always like, well, I only have bad luck. My girlfriend did this and it was her fault. And I wouldn't have gone to prison if it wasn't for that person. I mean, what I did was wrong, but not necessarily all that. It wasn't my fault. I hear people give excuses all the time. Well, I almost got a job that would have got me the money and I could have bought my own house and the whole world would have. That's the key word there, would have. Those words never leave my lips. My team right here, they never hear me say anything like that. You know what they hear me say? I'm going to do this. And then you know what I do? Yeah. I do. And I deliver time in and time out. And so when my team hears me say I'm going to do something, they don't question it because I'm not a guy who loses. Do I lose? 1 out of 10 times I lose every single day. 1 out of 10 times. This person would like to tell you that it's 1 out of 10 times that I'm only right. And it's 9 out of 10 times with her that I'm wrong. But it's what'd you say? Oh, you're sorry. You heard that, folks. She apologized. So it is true. Wrong answer. It is truly, and the reality is, it is about eliminating processes in your mind that help you lose. As an example, if you're not closing every deal you're doing, meaning if you're not taking it from the beginning to the close of the project, and you don't walk it from the end to the close, and you have 30 projects open, you're never going to accomplish anything in your life. You're just busy and you're running around. That was one of my problems I had as a younger man in the business world. And finally, a mentor pointed it out, and I was like, oh, okay, so what do I do? How do I fix that? I don't know how to fix it. And he showed me a path. So you got to work for the long game. So you still got to check those old habits and make sure we're not going back to the old habit. I like to, my old days, it's a lot easier if you just smack them in the back of the head as hard as you can and knock them out. I'm an old fighter. I prefer the old fashioned, hey, let's just go out in the backyard, sign a waiver that you're okay. Let's get out there and, get into an old fashioned scrap fight. I'm good with that. We'll solve problems real fast. I think we should take every president of each country, put both of the presidents in a ring and let them beat each other up and call the war good. That's how they used to do some of these battles. Two of the greatest warriors would fight, and whoever won, it was the winner. But I also understand that times have changed somewhat. It's a little different society now. But again, the long game. So what are you doing for the long game? For your health. Why do you walk so much? I get that question a lot. Lately, I haven't been able to, but I do walk a lot because it's for the long game. I want to be here for a long time. So what are you doing for the long game? Are your actions today helping you in the long term? Playing that video game all night. One of the guys at my organization, he's at one of the houses, and he was late to a project. And I asked him why he was late. His reply was, I'm sorry, I was up playing video games. And I said, okay, that's your last chance. If you do this again, I'm throwing you out. What? I'm like, bro, this is not a game. I run a multi-million-dollar empire that is a nonprofit, and people live and die and depend on us financially. Their food on their table comes from us. And if we don't deliver, people get hurt, starve, lose jobs, go homeless, don't get out of prison. Lots of things go south. And if you can't be a man and put away childish things. If you want to play a game on your own time, that's fine. But when your own time then takes it, makes it so you're up all night so that you can't get up to be at the place that you're supposed to be, now what happens? You see what I'm saying? That's not your actions aren't for the long game. That's short game pleasure. That's let's play a video game tonight. I can't tell you how many, I can't tell you what day I played a video game or what day I played all night a video game. I think there's one tournament I called, I can remember, and I don't know even the year. I can tell you I was living at my brother-in-law's house with my sister, and I was moving from one house to another, and I needed a place to crash for like 60, maybe 90 days. Yeah, it's in my ex-wife and me, and we just had our son, so we moved in, and I do remember that, but I couldn't tell you the year. That's it. One event in my whole life I can remember in a video game. But I can tell you every business I ever launched. I can tell you every single time I hit a huge major goal in my businesses. I can tell you about the children when they were born. There's these highlights in your life, and I just don't forget any of them. Playing a game has no highlight in my life. Now, doesn't mean it doesn't bring me pleasure, but it's not anything that, if it paid my bills and all of a sudden I bought a house for someone, that's different. But I don't pay my bills through that. So what's the long game? Well, playing video games for me isn't the long game. But today, when you guys read that book on becoming a person who understands their why, now you've improved yourself. The men at my organization are always being challenged to improve themselves. So the guy that continues to improve himself, he's playing the long game. The guy that's just looking for that self-gratification, quick and fast, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's not the long game. The get rich quick scheme. I can do this, I can do that. I remember one of my friends in school, me and him wanted to become NBA basketball players. That was our goal. He actually had a shot because his daddy was in the NBA, JJ Lucas and me. And his dad was Jerry Lucas, the famed NBA Hall of Famer. And Jerry took me aside that afternoon. He said, "So you want to play in the NBA? Do you know what the percentage is of how many players apply to go and go into the NBA, try to go through the draft, all that kind of stuff, and how many people actually get in the NBA?" I have no clue, Jerry. He's like, your chances are, and I can't remember what it was, but it's like 1 in a gabillion. Okay, cool. A gabillion, not billion, gabillion. I'm not sure how much that is, but it's a lot. And then he goes, and your father's 5'9" or 5'8". So, and I was like, hey, the rest of my men in the family are like 6 foot even. He goes, so you might have a shot at being 6 foot, which means you'll be one of the smallest players in the league. And he's like, you got a shot. You could be totally could be a point guard. That's where you'd have to play. So you'd have to be on the outside. You'd be the 3-point shooter and draw the fouls. And so you can't miss free throws. So he said, you need to spend every day shooting free throws. And I said, I am, Jerry. That's exciting. So I'm doing exactly what the pro would say. He says, yes. How many are you shooting? I said, 100. He goes, it's got to be a minimum of 1,000. And I was like, say what? So I went down the next day and I shot 1,000 hoops, 1,000 free throws. Guess what, folks? Within a week, I decided to change my career. And I was like, okay, NBA is not an option. So president of the United States it is. And then it was mobster. But, who's counting? So the point is, what are you doing for the long term? It's all about the long game. As you guys look at your spiritual life, your physical life, your sexual life, your financial life, your every aspect of it, your work life, are you doing actions that are for the long game? Or are you just trying to hit it and quit it and get in and out real quick and make a score? Because that's not going to get you success. What gets you success is the long game. If it's with a relationship, it's that consistent date night. I went out Tuesday night on a date night, and it's something we've been doing lately, and I love it. And it's interesting when you apply effort into something, you're going to find that you can make change. And if you guys remember, for 2026, our theme is massive change. So when we're talking about the long game, how do you have massive change? See it financially, see how much money you cannot spend this year and see how much you can invest into your investments. Weight, you lose 20 pounds. Why don't you aim for 60 and make it a goal that's just unbelievable and blow the socks off of everybody? Massive change. And then once you figure out the goal you want, step it back, dial it back, design it by the 12 months that you need, or however many we got left now. We're at 9 left. So back up 9 and figure out here's what I can do by Christmas. Holy smokes. By Christmas, you could literally be that person walking around wearing that tight Santa suit going, hey, look at these abs. You know what I mean? Instead of look at this, what do you call that? Keg. So I want you guys to be looking at the long game in all of your actions. What are your actions doing? And are they for the short term, quick fix, hit it and quit it? Or are you doing things for the long term? Investing in stuff that's going to be not a huge investment instantly, but over the long term, the investments in it are amazing. I love you guys. I love all of the people in our organization. I'm so grateful every single week to come down and speak and talk with our members. I love our Africa group. Thank you so much for tuning in out there. We have a couple houses and they have the families get together and they sit there and watch it, and then they'll send me emails. It's really a blessing to hear from others around the world that meet us and then also get to follow us. I look forward to taking actually a couple of my staff members to Ghana this hopefully next year or this year. I don't know. I'd like to get out there. There's a king out there. He knighted me. I'm trying to work on doing some humanitarian efforts out there. But anyways, I love you guys. God bless. Have a great week.